purpose. Some get put in retirement for a little while and then come back out again. But this album, I recorded the whole thing with a Gibson Les Paul, Fender Telecaster, and my Prince Cloud guitar, Schecter Cloud, and I used that on a few tracks, and a P bass, of course, a Fender P bass. Yeah, I'm doing like a Fender promotion.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Do you name your guitars at all?
No, I probably should. It's a hard enough time naming my pets,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always say to musicians that sometimes it's easier just because if you're on stage and using multiple guitars, you can always tell the roadie pick up Sarah, pick up Mary or something like that. You know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, then you have somebody like Brian May who has his Red Special, right? But he has all of his guitars that he uses are copies of that guitar. So it's like, it'd have to almost be numbered 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Obviously special tuning or whatever. And then, like if you're doing an arena show like that, you obviously have humidity and heat and cold and whatever. So it's going to change the tuning of the guitar.
Yeah, everywhere, like even clubs, you get everything set up, everything's tuned, all your gear is done, you do a sound check, and then the place fills up. And like, let's say you're in Canada, like I am, and it's cold. And then by the time you get to play several hours later, it's hot and humid, and it was cold earlier with drafts, and now everything's weird. That's the life of a musician playing live, right? Yeah,
I hope that we get back to that soon. I know musicians that are kind of eager to want to go back and play live again and really pray for the crowds. I mean, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. There's a bunch of people in the crowd being able to cheer and participate and having their cell phones up and just waving when there's a nice slow song or whatever too. So I know there's a lot of people that are anxious about that as well. Have you played out here in Vegas before by any chance?
No, I was, I've only been to Vegas once, and it was a few years ago, and it was a blast. And because I was never, I shouldn't say not interested in going. It was just all I could think, was gambling and partying, and I'm not really much for either. But when I went, it was like, no, I want to go and just enjoy everything there is to see, and it was amazing. It's so much fun. The biggest problem was trying to find time to sleep. The Hard Rock Cafe is closed, isn't it? That now?
I mean, a lot of the restaurants here and a lot of hotels are actually closed down. Considering, I mean, there's a couple of casinos that are open, but they're only open during the weekends. It's kind of weird.
Well, I heard it was closed down, like completely closed down. I don't know if that's true.
You're talking about the Hard Rock Hotel? Yes and no.
Okay.
The Hard Rock, the Hard Rock is shut down because Virgin bought it, so it's now going to become the Virgin Hotel. Okay. I think they kept the joint venue, if I'm not mistaken. But it was supposed to be opened in February, but I don't know with COVID if that's going to be open by then. But they took a good good year to kind of remodel. So they're working on it and should be open. The Virgin Hotel, which will be where the Hard Rock used to be, will be open up pretty soon.
I just thought of something really funny though, how we were talking about gear and temperature and all that. Well, while I was down there, it was unseasonably cold there and unseasonably warm here. It was February, and the temperature there and here were exactly the same. So it was like light jacket weather walking down the strip and that. And I have a buddy who was playing, I can't remember the name of the place, but somewhere on the strip, but it was outside, kind of like a patio thing. And so I went to see him and hang out and that, and they had heaters on the stage. They're wearing coats and everything. I'm like, how can you even play? Your fingers be like frozen and everything. Oh, it was crazy.
I was going to mention, we do have a couple of rock clubs here. Vamped is probably the most popular one out here, and I've had a couple of artists that have played there that's been on the show. So, there's definitely a couple of venues out here. I mean, a lot of the stuff on the strip obviously are clubs, but more and more of the dance clubs than the rock clubs, but there are a couple out here as well. So it's great to be able to see those as well.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about a little bit about, you talked about instruments, we talked about that. Let's talk a little bit about the album and kind of the concept behind it. Tell me a little bit about, kind of your thoughts going into creating this album.
Well, there is a bit of a concept, and it's kind of funny because when I tell people that this one and the one before sort of feel like concept albums, it's sort of like, well, they don't have any lyrics. How is that even possible? But it's still, when it has something running through it musically, that it's a cohesive part. That's what I love about an album, like the actual full album. Now there's a lot of singles and stuff, but the album is just kind of one whole piece of art, I suppose you could say. My thoughts into it, I mean, it does have a very witchy vibe, of course, and the whole Wonders of the Invisible World was a title that I yanked from a book from 1693, sorry, and that was basically about the Salem witch trials, if you would even call it the trials, where for all accounts was basically a justification of the atrocities that happened to a bunch of innocent people. And so I kind of decided it felt right to use that title for something positive. And it also seems kind of cool because the invisible world, music falls into that too, because it is invisible, unless you're reading sheet music for entertainment, which is no judgment. That's fine. But I mean, music generally is in the air, right? It's not, you don't see it. You hear it, you feel it. And that's so sort of very early on, that's where that came from. And it stuck with me while I was recording it.
When it came to the album, I mean, obviously, you had different tracks or whatever. The order in which you want the tracks to be played on the album, that had to be a little bit of a process. Was it a situation where you did have, kind of known going in what tracks were going to go on? Did you need to add tracks at certain points just because you felt that a gap between one track and another gap needed something?
Sort of. I mean, I kept resending my track listing to Julie, the girl who was doing my artwork. I'm glad this isn't like all hand drawn like the old days or something, because you're like eraser, because I kept changing my mind. I kept, I would listen to, and one of the processes for me recording it, and this is different than the old days of going into a studio and doing it like in your block of time. But for me, I'd go to the gym and I would listen just to the stems of the song. Whenever I had, parts of songs, I'd put them in there. I'd just go driving and I'd be listening to it. Anything where my mind was not focused on working, I was just listening. So then you could say, well, this one's too long, or this is, and a lot of times you go, oh, this is an obvious opener, or this one is the closing track, and you kind of fill things in like little Lego blocks or something. But it is really important. I think the track listing and it's kind of like doing a live show too. Your set list is extremely important, how you present yourself to the audience. You want to start strong. You don't want to bore people in the first with the first song, right? And also, that's another thing that's kind of interesting is for an instrumentalist, a lot of times people ask, well, what makes me different than other artists? And I've written songs my whole life with lyrics. And so I kind of approach these the same way. And so you might notice if you're listening to it, that songs have a structure very similar, like there's the verse, there's the chorus, kind of. And I think there's 2 songs on there that exceed 3 minutes. It's not like 9-minute songs and trying to be all fancy and smart or anything. I'm just writing catchy songs.
Well, I mean, that's great to hear. Now, let's see here. You guys can check out the new album right now wherever you get your music as well. Where are you at on social media?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course. I have videos all the time I'm putting up for the music. And the other thing too is if you just want to find me, go to darrenboyd.com. And I don't know when you're going to be, because this is pre-recorded, right? So I'm not sure when this will air. But I am putting a Christmas special that you can't refuse for this if you actually want the CD itself. So go to darrenboyd.com, and there'll be a really special promotion going on before Christmas. So.
Well, we'll definitely look out for that as well. And anything else from you?
That's it. I'm having a blast. I love talking about music, man.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you coming up in the season. I really look forward to maybe seeing a new album coming up in 2021. I know you have some ideas in the back of your head, and hopefully you can get back to performing.
Yeah, I'd love to get down to Vegas too.
Yeah, I'd love to see you over at Vamped. I mean, hopefully Vamped gets back open again, and we can get some rock, get some rock music back in there as well. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks. Have a great one.
You guys can check us out on Twitter at SWIV, also Somewhere in Vegas on Facebook. You guys can also check our Instagram out at SWIV Podcast, at SWIV Podcast. We might have some Christmas photos to show you over the next few weeks. Also, check us out on all your favorite podcatchers. Make sure you subscribe as well. You guys can check us out. If you have an Alexa app, all you have to do is to ask Alexa to play Somewhere in Vegas. You guys can also check us out on iHeartRadio, our new home, technically, with Spreaker being acquired by iHeartRadio. So you guys can check that out as well. With that in mind, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. We are doing episodes Monday and Wednesday throughout the rest of the year, so definitely check us out then. We'll talk to you guys coming up on Wednesday here on Somewhere in Vegas.